The shift toward a sustainable future is very much a shift of values and therefore a cultural shift. And I think one of the most important things that we need to do is to show people that living sustainably means enhancing the quality of life. Economists talk about living standard, measured in income, GDP, and so on. Ecologists talk about the quality of life. And that difference needs to be bridged, because our economy, like everything else, is embedded in ecosystems and will survive only if life in nature survives.
Right now, the world on average is gaining 3 to 4% a year in true buying power. If we gave up 1% of that, we still are becoming richer. And yet we can have a different kind of wealth. We can have a world in which we can be fairly sure that people 100 years from now will be able to enjoy the quality of life that we have. If we continue changing climate, we have no reason to imagine that. We will be the people who will be looked back on as the foolish ones who instead of giving up a 1% gain in their economies, lived 1% more extravagant lives, but left the future with nothing.
At the end of the day, I would love everybody to think rationally and just say, this is the way we should be doing it. And that's not how the world works. And there's lots of different motivations, and there's lots of wanting to just feel good about this issue. So to me, this is much more about moving us in a direction where we do a little more good, where we focus a little more on the right things. And I think if we can move ourselves a little bit in that direction, say, there's actually some guys out there who've pointed out we can do an immense amount of good if we focus on this and this and this, which will do a lot of good, rather than these solutions that we typically talk about, which will do very little good. Hey, then we've done some good.
I think we need to really acknowledge that we live in a world of limits. So I think often we can have this temptation of thinking the best time to start installing renewable energy infrastructure is in 6 months' time, because they'll have come up with something much, much better. But actually we've got a lot of the technologies, and we need to just really get on with it.
The effects of what we do right now are going to be seen in the future, or they're going to be noticed by other people than ourselves. So the people that need to make the change are not feeling any of the consequences right now yet. And that is a bad recipe for change. I don't want to be too grim about it, but I really feel that that is just the way it is. We are just choosing to ignore the effects that our way of living has to other people.
Maybe our sustainable future happens 150 years in the future or 300 years in the future, but the mess we're in right now will generate the ideas that end up getting us there. You do what you can, and you see how the self-correcting system starts to play out, and I think it's fundamentally resilient. If our populations collapse, the Earth won't care anyway.
There is a silver bullet, and the silver bullet is ideas. If there are lots and lots of ideas out there, and they're allowed to be tested, so that good ideas actually go forward, move, develop, bad ideas fall by the wayside, it's ideas. Ideas is a silver bullet.
I think it's very rapidly people are making this transition, but it does, when you look at the numbers, when you look at sort of what's actually required to make an 80% cut in carbon emissions by 2050. It's that's sort of it's 1% a year. It's not going to happen with business as usual. It really needs some sort of pushing to drive it along. But I'm quite optimistic that I think people are beginning to see progress.
It's interesting to me to see how large utility players today are throwing themselves into the debate to be part of electric transport, to be part of the interesting discussions of what happens with distributed energy storage. Meanwhile, they are part of the institutional knowledge. And frankly, there are new partnerships created through that. As an entrepreneur, you gotta love it.
A lot of times people get scared, or they have a lot of fear around looking at the significant problem we do have with carbon and the planet's future. I look at it as being pretty exciting, that there's lots of room for improvement, and there's also the demand for us to innovate. And as a designer, what more can we ask for?